What is up, everybody, and welcome to another night of nerdgasm. I am not Caleb Coho. I am not Tim Percala. I am Doug Castle, but I'm not here alone. Let's talk to the panelists. Caleb Boatman, how are you doing tonight, good sir?
Good. Hi, I'm here. I'm very happy to be here. I haven't judged the debate in a little bit, so this should be a good time. Ryan and Nico, this should be a fun time. These are both very big personalities, so I think this should be a really good time.
Absolutely, and of course, I've been on the panel with this fine gentleman. I've judged him before. He is an amazing debater. Cody Newberry, how are you doing tonight?
Sup, bitches? Yeah, this will be fun. Don't worry, the debate god, the actual debate god, is not stepping in the ring to debate tonight. So, this should be fun. Nico has the ability to be a good debater if he gets out of his own head, and Ryan is very knowledgeable when it comes to it. And I've seen him debate a couple times. If they can stay on track and they can use the points, this should be a really good one. If they go off course, well, this could be a disaster. I can't wait to find out.
We have two paths to go down tonight. Which one will it be? The long and treacherous one or the short and sweet? Anyway, let's go over to our combatants tonight. Ryan Payne, how are you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm more on the line of bridge of being tired but wired at the same time. I mean, I'm off of 5 hours of coffee and maybe, I don't know, turkey sandwiches. So I'll find out where I am by the end of this match.
Coffee and turkey sandwiches sounds like a dangerous mix. The itis and you can't fall asleep. Let's go
that's
over
pork.
to
That's why I mean turkey. It's pork.
let's go over to Nico. Nico, how are you feeling tonight?
I've been waking up at noon and going to bed at like 4 in the morning the past several days, so I feel like my sleep schedule has adjusted perfectly for the timing of this match, which is 11 p.m. Eastern time. I know, like, when did we go to Australia time? I have a bit of a chip on my shoulder this month. I've won 3 out of 3 matches that have aired this month, and I'm looking to make it a perfect 4. Ryan and I are going to be having a debate in the coming weeks for my Chokeslam title. So this is like the warm up for that. And I haven't competed in Nerdgasm for over a year. So I'm looking to return with a vengeance.
Yeah,
All
same
right,
goat
then.
here in a year. So I'm looking to actually get a victory in Orgasm.
Well, let's break it down and jump right into it, guys. Your first category is DC, and the question on the table is best Batman villain not named Joker. And we're gonna go over to Ryan first. Ryan, you have a minute on the table when you start speaking.
It's pretty clear to everyone Joker is constantly synonymous with Batman, but throughout the course of Batman's movies, there has also been a second character that I thought has sometimes been underratedly used, or at the time, depending on your rewatch, seems to fit most of the themes of the Batman movies, and that character is Harvey Dent, Two-Face. Now, we can all say the Batman Forever version was very campy and very over the top, but when you look at the themes of Batman Forever, on the fact that Bruce Wayne is struggling with the duality of Batman, and then you have his polar opposite, which is Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent is literally the other side of that coin. Then we go to the Dark Knight. For in the Dark Knight, Harvey Dent is pretty much the opposite of Bruce. He is the shining light, the guy, the Gotham savior. And then throughout the movie, you start seeing Harvey Dent being dragged into the mud, and then Bruce having to rise up above this the so-called persona of Batman to become the savior of Gotham. They both fit very perfectly to the themes of Batman, and I see Two-Face hopefully being used again in the future of Batman installments.
Time. All right, let's go over to Nico. Nico, you got a minute on the clock when you start talking.
So for my choice, I went with Jonathan Crane, aka the Scarecrow, who makes his lone film appearance besides the Lego Batman movie. He makes it in Batman Begins. And the interesting thing about Scarecrow is he is someone who actually succeeds at his evil plans. He was able to manipulate Gotham's corrupted legal system in order to get test subjects for his fear toxin. He was able to get the proper permits to taint Gotham's water supply with his fear toxin under the guise of fluoride. He succeeds in his plans to expose Gotham to the fear toxin and bring about an era of mass panic and chaos, not under the control of chance like Two-Face usually would, but under his own control. And he succeeds at this twice because although he does end up getting beaten in Batman Begins, he does make a return after Bane comes to power in The Dark Knight Rises, and he finds himself in a position of power again. He takes control of Gotham City twice. Meanwhile, Two-Face can barely get control of it once, and I'll go into further detail with that as soon as Doug finishes putting down his fingers.
All right, time. Finish with 2 seconds left. All right, we're going to bring both of them back on the screen, and they are going to have a 5-minute free form with each other. Guys, 5 minutes on the clock when one of you start talking.
Look, I appreciate that both of our villains, to be honest, they are great Batman villains. But looking at Scarecrow, though, when you mentioned some of his plans that he was able to do, like be able to release prisoners under his care within, I mean, mainly just get prisoners off of their crimes. Everything that he's done in Batman Begins is way before Bruce starts to begin his spree as Batman.
But does that really matter? I mean, we're talking about best Batman villain, not best Batman villain at the time in which he might have been Batman for however long. And the thing that matters to me is the success of the villain. And he had a plan and he succeeded at it.
Yeah, but if you look at his effectiveness before, during, and after Batman, once Batman got in charge, he of course through a challenge, he was able to beat Scarecrow. Then you see in The Dark Knight, he's only brought back as a sort of drug dealer who's easily arrested. And as you mentioned, he gets to have his own power when Bane takes in charge. That's after he has removed Batman.
But the goal of Scarecrow is to obtain power. However, whether it be under the power of his fear toxin in the water supply, or be it he decides to be Bane's lackey, he still succeeds at his goal to obtain power. Meanwhile, your character, and I was going to save this till later in the argument, but a bunch of people in Multiplex were laughing at me because I was talking to a rock for a long time. Your character takes advice from the quarter I found in the cushions of this couch I'm sitting on right now.
The quarter may be his tool, but it's only a manifestation of his psychological trauma. And while it might be a joke to so many people, at the same time, that makes him very scary if you're his hostage or if you work for him.
Until you take the coin away, in which case he's nothing. It happened in Batman Forever when Batman threw a bunch of coins up into the air, and Tommy Lee Jones, as Two-Face, couldn't find his lucky coin, so he couldn't make any choices.
Well, that's clearly as a written off how Batman decides to deal with him. And still, in the same time, he is still a dangerous character because...
But it shows how easily beatable he is.
Yeah, maybe he's easily beatable. So is Scarecrow. I mean, he was able to not beat my Batman. When he finally accepts his role as Scarecrow, he's on that horse. He gets taken out by a taser to the face. Well, Two-Face, he had to plunge to his death. Easily beaten, maybe, but at least Two-Face died knowing he's not coming back. That's how dangerous of a threat he was.
Batman still had to ride his way through the city while everyone was in mass panic and chaos to get to Scarecrow in the first place. It didn't take that much effort for Batman to get to Two-Face. All he had to do was basically knock him off, what was it, a blimp in Batman Forever? And then he just had to get out of his own head and get the coin out of his hand when he was holding.
But the funny thing is,
Gordon's child
is still a thorn in Batman's side throughout Batman Forever, even despite the fact he wants to flip a coin. The fact is, when Two-Face shows during one of the sequences when he invades Bruce's house, when he's about to reveal himself to his love interest, Chase Meridian, yeah, he's sitting in the corner deciding whether he wants to kill him or not. But when he finally does get the decision, guess what? He's able to take down Bruce Wayne. He's only stopped by the Riddler because the Riddler wants to continue punishing him. If Two-Face had killed Bruce Wayne right then and there, the Riddler's plan would have continued. Sure, the coin might be a weakness, but when he has a decision and it's made by the coin, he is going to follow through with it. Maybe if it doesn't turn out well, like Batman stopping him with using taking him out of a blimp, using a wire to put a safe back in, but Two-Face always goes to execute his goals. It's one of the reasons why
But he has
Bruce has
no
a hard
goals.
time
He makes decisions up as he goes along based on what the coin tells him to do. And before he becomes Two-Face, it should be pointed out that Harvey Dent is a failure. Like Scarecrow, as just Jonathan Crane, was able to take advantage
How
of
was
the
Harvey
system.
Dent as a failure? Are you talking about him like as a DA? Because even as a DA in Dark Knight,
as a politician, he couldn't in the Dark Knight. As a politician, he couldn't succeed at his goal of cleaning up crime. And as of and there's an argument to be made that he's not even a villain in the Dark Knight. He's just an anti-hero because he still wants to get some bad guys off the street.
Because he kills one of the cops that takes him away, that leads up him getting tied.
A corrupt cop.
No matter what, Harvey Dent ultimately would have the right thing to do was been to arrest that corrupt cop like Gordon would have, like Bruce would have. Harvey chose to kill him. Harvey chose with that coin flip to choose. He became corrupted by the Joker, which was the Joker's plan, but still ultimately in the end, Harvey chose, once that coin was flipped, he followed through with it, either sparing a cop, killing a cop, sparing a criminal, killing a criminal. He was going to kill Gordon's family if the coin had landed on the
Scarecrow
side. That is not much of an anti-hero. That is a villain following through with his plans. He even told Gordon.
Scarecrow was going to brainwash the entire city of Gotham with his fear toxin, make them think that everything they're seeing is their worst nightmare, and that is something
actually Raish's plan. Scarecrow just thought it was for ransom.
Time.
Oh God.
Nico, you have 1 minute when you start talking to start your closing.
So if we're speaking in terms of Batman Forever, Two-Face is a failure. He looks like Mintberry Crunch from that one episode of South Park, and he gets easily beaten by every adversary he faces. In terms of the Nolan trilogy, the character of Two-Face would not exist if not for the actions of Scarecrow. Joker took advantage of Harvey Dent's personal weaknesses, but Jonathan Crane took advantage of Harvey Dent's professional weaknesses. Scarecrow and his stranglehold over Gotham's broken system allowed him to enact his plan, and he's the embodiment of Harvey Dent's failures as a public servant that would later transform him into Two-Face. Again, there's the question of whether Two-Face, at least in the Dark Knight trilogy, is he a villain or is he an anti-hero, because he's still trying to get certain people off the street. And again, he takes advice from a coin. You take away that coin, he's got nothing. He can't make decisions on his own. Scarecrow succeeded at his plan, and whether you debate whose plan it actually was, whether it be Ra's al Ghul's or Bane's, it was still Scarecrow who executed it, and he executed it with success, putting fear toxin in the waters, gaining power through the broken system that Harvey Dent could not fix that would later turn him into Two-Face. Scarecrow is the better villain.
Time. All right. Ryan, 1 minute. Close us out when you start talking.
If we are going to judge the effectiveness of a villain, if the effectiveness of how a villain's able to execute or carry out a plan, or how they succeed and fail determines determines their status as a villain, or what makes them the best, then technically the Joker should not be considered, which is why he was never considered for this category. Joker consistently fails. Joker succeeds when he torments Batman personally, and that is the same level of Two-Face. Two-Face represents exactly the same ideology, the same duality that Batman has to deal with every single day he puts on that mask. Yes, Scarecrow was able to succeed his plans, and yes, sure. But as I said, it's under somebody else, under someone's own power. And technically, Joker is not the reason of Harvey Dent's rise and fall. The Joker is the cause for his fall. Harvey Dent was there to clean out corruption. Sure, it was highlighted completely throughout Batman Begins how corrupt the city was. But going back in, it's all about the duality of the nature of Harvey Dent, because of the fact he falls apart because he's broken by the law, and Batman represents that law. Okay.
All right, let's bring all the people back on the screen. All right. I will go first on this. Looking over the arguments, it was when it comes down to it, I heard a little bit more Nico tearing down Ryan's pick, and less of Ryan getting a chance to kind of tear down Nico's pick a lot. He started trying formulate an idea in his closing, but I didn't hear much about it to why he wasn't the best. He also kind of basically said, yeah, Scarecrow kind of completed his idea, even though it was under the reign of someone else. But yeah, no, I'm giving my point to Nico for this one. I am not the only person here, so I'm going to go over to Caleb. Caleb, what are your viewpoints?
I think Ryan played a little too much defense and not enough offense. I think that's kind of the biggest issue here is that I agree with you, Doug. I didn't hear enough against Scarecrow, and I heard a lot about Two-Face on both sides, but I didn't really hear enough against Scarecrow, so that was kind of an issue there. So I think I am going to also give my point to Nico.
Okay. And Nico does get the point, but Cody, where did you see this fight going?
Ryan almost won it in the closing if he would have sunk in and didn't do Joker, if he would have leaned into if your entire argument is that the effectiveness of a villain, then we're all screwed because there's no, every villain fails. You could have went that route, but you went towards Joker, which is not a part of the question, which would have put a huge hole in his argument, but it didn't end up. So Nico gets the point for me.
All right, Nico did get the first point, but there's plenty of time left. We're going into the second question in MCU. Who should be the villain of Spider-Man 3? And we're going to start off with Nico. Nico, you have a minute on the clock once we all clear out, and you start talking.
So far in the MCU incarnation of Spider-Man, all the villains have been adults that Peter Parker's mentor, Tony Stark, previously pissed off somehow. Now that Peter's identity is out in the open after what happened in Far From Home, and I'll touch on how he's okay in my plot a little later, it's time for him to create his own villains. So picture this. It's the senior year science fair, and Peter, MJ, and Ned win said science fair with a project that doubles as an Easter egg to make the comic book readers have a nerdgasm of their own. German exchange student Frieda von Meyer is very upset that her high-tech bee preservation and communication device didn't win the fair, and she storms out of the fair crying that Peter only won because he's Spider-Man. So she gets back to work on her project in an effort to make it better to show the judges they made the wrong call. Something goes horribly wrong, and then in the end result of that failed experiment is that her consciousness somewhat merges with the queen bee, and she develops a symbiotic bond with the rest of the swarm that her survival depends on. With her new power set as a living swarm of bees, she takes revenge on the school, and it's up to Spider-Man and friends to stop her.
All right, 2 seconds left, and he's still finished early. Let's go ahead and bring Ryan in. Ryan, 1 minute on the clock when I disappear and you start talking.
Far From Home brought in, throughout the third act of Far From Home, it started to finally introduce or finally encapsulate Peter Parker coming into his own, trying to be his own hero, his own man, but at the same time, he still had to deal with some of the mistakes that Tony Stark made in his previous life. And I see that carrying into the third one, the fact that Mysterio, in his final death, outed Peter Parker. And his holographic technology, which is left out there in the open. What can be used is a villain that is able to not only take or adapt that holographic technology to their own means, but to become a true parasite, a true annoyance into Spider-Man's life, being able to infiltrate, being able to sabotage things around Peter Parker to the point to where he blends into his environment. He can become anyone or he can become anything. And that villain is the Chameleon. Because, be honest, Far From Home perfectly set it up with the use of the holographic technology from Quentin Beck. Having, I don't know, an organization or a rogue agent being able to take that technology and make it his own and starting to use that to disrupt disrupt everything.
Time.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, we're going to bring Nico back in. 5-minute freeform, guys. When one of you start talking and I disappear.
Okay, so basically you want to do the same villain we got in the last movie, but he uses illusions differently than what we got before. You could have literally just had Chameleon be the villain from Far From Home, is what you're telling me. And
not
really, not be that much
Mysterio worked because it fit most likely to where Peter was, because Peter was questioning himself. He was doubting himself after the death of Peter Parker. Quentin Beck was able to jump on that to pretend to be the friend. Like he says his line, it's easy to fool people when they're fooling themselves. Chameleon, he's not about fooling people. He's pretty much just an agent of chaos or an agent for hire. He just goes in, gets the job done. With Chameleon,
but you're still kind of proposing an idea of someone taking advantage of Peter Parker's misfortune, an adult who has a lot of technology taking advantage of this
point. With Peter Parker being outed as Spider-Man, a lot of people are going to want to take advantage of that. We got J. Jonah Jameson introduced in a mid-credit scene. We're going to have a lot happening in New York with Peter Parker. With your idea, though, introducing of a student of the Swarm, it ties back to some of the 2000s of Spider-Man that we're slowly moving away from the whole idea of the over campy sci-fi elements. I mean, it sounds like
where did I suggest anything campy in this at all? Like it's a student who feels like an outsider because she's a German exchange student for one thing. So she's the new kid in school. Her dad is kind of a Nazi sympathizer, hence why she left Germany to go to America. So she feels like an outcast on two fronts. She's trying to find her own hive to call her own. Hence why she gets wrapped up in the bee technology. And she thinks she has a good project, and she gets upstaged by Spider-Man. She thinks Spider-Man's getting special treatment in the school where she doesn't feel welcome, and it motivates her. It makes her feel like she needs to go that extra mile to prove a point. And people can relate to that, especially people our own age.
Yeah, but the problem is that you're introducing the fact that her father was a Nazi sympathizer, and we're going to be doing this in an MCU movie. I'm sorry, as serious as they want to make it, they're going to have to introduce some very light comedy elements. Hell, maybe almost make instances where it's going to be.
We have Jojo Rabbit. We can introduce comedy elements into something involving a Nazi.
Jojo Rabbit is completely different. I understand where you're going from, but the fact
made by a director of an MCU movie.
But this is the MCU in general. With Spider-Man, they have done things that always try to keep Spider-Man one foot on the ground, grounded to the ideas, which is why.
But they've also tried to keep things science-oriented, and he's a kid still. He's a kid still. So it helps to showcase that there are other smart kids around him who can also possibly become villains with the right motivation. You're just suggesting someone steals someone else's work that we already saw in the last movie and uses it to their advantage. By the way, a shapeshifter in Chameleon. We already have the Skrulls. Do we really want to confuse that plot line going on by adding a shapeshifter?
There is no. That's why I said the holographic technology. And with that, this is a good writing tool or plot device to be able to work around so much trouble that Peter's in. We're going to keep the Skrulls out of this because, let's be honest, they will cause a lot of confusion. But in my story, with this holographic technology, this is something of another remnant of Tony Stark's past that Peter Parker unfortunately has to deal with. Also, it still keeps that door open from the team that Quentin Beck had established back in Far From Home. They still have that footage. They still have all the data to the holographic technology. And with Peter Parker having to evade police, having to be away from his home life, it leads to so much disruption, which is why
Peter is surrounded by a bunch of smart, intelligent people who know their way around tech. They can he can turn himself in quickly, have the trial, and his friends can be like, we found the actual footage. We found the real footage that's unedited. Please acquit our friend. Okay, and then we move on to my plot point. And so
that's putting a lot of faith in those kids. That's putting really a lot of faith in there. With Peter, the whole thing I've mentioned with Chameleon, yes, we can still use the children, but him being an agent of chaos. Let's say Peter Parker does go to court. The Chameleon could do something like having Spider-Man rob a bank, or he can have where a situation, a disaster happens.
But if he's on trial, then they'll immediately know, oh, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but Peter's here on the desk. So that's probably another guy.
That may clear Peter's name, but that still changes the fact that Spider-Man is going to be public enemy number one. And that's the one thing ultimately what Mysterio did. Even if Peter clears his name, he still has to try to be genuine himself with the people. With the Swarm, I don't see much of a heavy plot surrounding how she's going to be sure, she's going to attack Peter maybe, but how's that going to bleed out further down the line? What's going to be the motivation for Peter to help her? Because it seems to me
I have a plot point for that, which I will get to in the closing argument once Doug finishes counting down.
Now, I've been introducing
because there's no time.
Time. All right, we're gonna go over to Ryan to kick us off with the close. Ryan, you'll have 1 minute when I disappear and Nico disappears.
as I've mentioned before, the chameleon can be an agent of chaos. Sure, it leads to a lot of questions that can be answered mainly by the fans and mainly by the audience. But the point of this is the story narrative that Peter, after Far From Home, everything around him is in shambles. He has to try to pick himself up from every single turn. With the chameleon being brought in and him using that holographic technology, he can make himself not only look like Spider-Man or look like a normal person. So whenever a situation Peter is trying to take down a chameleon, all he's got to do is change his appearance to make it look like a civilian to make Spider-Man even more of a public enemy. Hell, he can make himself look like Iron Man to mess with Peter's head. The fact that Peter Parker's identity is out there. Peter Parker has got to learn, and this is also using Peter Parker's intelligence. He's going to have to finally start to figure out on his own, use his own track of thinking, how he's going to take him down. How can he hack into the technology to be able to beat the chameleon, but which also helps finally for him to realize that I need to be my own hero. I can't try to be like Spider-Man, be like Iron Man, like what they did in Far From Home.
Time. All right, bringing Nico in. Nico, as soon as I disappear, you got a minute when you start talking.
Swarm as the villain is a great metaphor for what can be accomplished when you work together. Because just like Frida has to work with the beast to both survive and accomplish her goal, Peter has to now take the opportunity. He has to take the next step as a superhero by becoming a leader of others. Peter now has to rally with MJ, Ned, Flash, and all the other really intelligent students in his school and inspire them to use their talents that make them great to fight off Swarm. The students of the school are protecting their own hive in a way. And this is also a good way to teach an anti-bullying moment. Frida being the outcast that she is, with being an exchange student, her dad being a Nazi sympathizer, all she wants is the respect of her peers and for them to accept her and for her to feel like she's one of their own. And so after being defeated at the end of the movie, what stops her is that they extend a hand. They welcome her into the hive. They make her feel like she's one of her own. And that sets up a potential Young Avengers plot point with her as one of the heroes moving forward. They convert a villain that they created into a hero.
Time. All right, bringing the judges back in. And I started off last time. Let's go over to Boatman. Boatman, how did you see this match go?
You know, I think the point that really won it over for me was Nico's point about Mysterio. I think that we already have something similar, and I think Swarm is something new. I wasn't completely sold with the opening argument, but then I think it was really the offense from Nico that kind of stole it from me on why Chameleon wouldn't work. So sometimes the best defense is a great offense in debate.
All right, and Cody, you didn't get a chance to make your point count. Where you last round? Where do you see it this round?
So basically, I had to break it down where, and this is how I judge, and this is how I will always judge. One person did a rebuttal, and the other person I had to pretty much discredit all their rebuttal because you can't pitch me something that somebody can't counteract at the end. But the good news is that you did hard enough fight at the beginning to win your overall because you did the Mysterio stuff. But again, you said a bunch of stuff at the end that sounds really good, but Ryan could never combat that. So that's my point. That's called a low blow. Which I know you didn't have a lot of time, but at the end of the day, try to make your time valuable in the 5 minutes so they can counteract it. But the Mysterio comment was the nail. So Nico wins it.
Yep. My point don't count. Nico does get the point, but I would have gave him a point to Nico as well. The Mysterio comment was a really hard comeback. Yeah, it was hard for you to come back from that. But we're going to go ahead and move on to question 3 from Scores. And that is best opening song in a fandom film. And we're going to start with Ryan. Ryan, as soon as we disappear and you are left on screen and you start talking, you got a minute.
Okay. To me, the best opening song in a fandom film is the song Skyfall, sung by Adele from the James Bond movie Skyfall. Just from the way the song opens up with the opening of with the horns, just grasping your attention, and having it play throughout the opening title sequence of Bond, as you see him being dragged underneath the water, almost as if he's being torn apart, and then having the vocals of Adele just sing and carry you as if you are being just whisked away, because like with Bond's body, he's being dragged from one point to another as if he doesn't know where to go and where he should be loyal to, where his place is. And it tends to play out throughout most of the film, because when Bond comes back from his self-imposed isolation, he can't trust anyone in his organization. He's disheveled and he's broken apart. And the song of Skyfall does fit itself, because ultimately in the end, Skyfall, when Bond finally stands up, he is a new man and he's reinvigorated to follow his point. And the song itself, just sung by Adele, is beautifully played.
All right, bringing Nico in. Nico, you got 1 minute when I disappear and you start talking.
My pick is the opening song of 1994's The Lion King. I'm talking, of course, about The Circle of Life, composed by Elton John, lyrics by Tim Rice, and sung by Carmen Twilly and Lebo M. It's one of the greatest and most timeless songs in the history of cinema. The lyrics themselves set a powerful tone as they tell the story of being born into this great big world and the many things a living organism can and possibly will do in this great big world we all reside on and are all interconnected by. The African influence within the instrumentals and the vocals, especially when the choir kicks in, do an excellent job of bringing that lyrical story to life, as well as setting the scenery for the African Sahara landscape that the movie takes place in, showcasing the beauty of Mother Nature. This song has had multiple covers, and they've all sounded really good, done by Elton John himself, done by the cast of the early 2000s Disney Channel roster. This is one of the best songs that they do on the Broadway show of The Lion King. It's timeless, and I will yield my time for the rest of this round here.
All right, bringing Ryan back in. You guys know what's next. It's the free form, and you guys got 5 minutes on the clock when I disappear and one of you start talking.
So you can tell how great a song is based on how many people are singing along to that song. I've been going to Penn State's Thon event for 3 years, and they've had a Disney hour every single time. And in those 3 years, I've been in a building full of tens of thousands of people, all singing along to the Lion King soundtrack, including to The Circle of Life. I have never heard a building of more than 10 people singing any James Bond theme song ever.
How? That is really comparing apples to oranges. I mean, it's hilarious. I mean, if that is your measure of quality on how popular or how great a song is, I'm sorry, but we both have completely different standards and complete different tastes.
Is it though? Because here's the thing. We exist in this bubble here on YouTube that loves movies to death, but there's a whole bigger world outside of that doesn't pay attention to movies as much as we all do. So they don't really know.
There are still movies that within
our know what a Bond theme song sounds like. They barely know what a Bond theme song sounds like unless they've actually seen the movie. Everyone and their mother knows what The Circle of Life is, whether they've seen The Lion King or not.
But I'm not clarifying on the Bond theme. I'm talking about the song Skyfall. And Skyfall is a great song to sing along to, but this is more of a situation to where—
Who do you know that sung along to it?
Myself, my uncle, my college friends who are big Bond fans. I've even spoken to musicians who are classically trained who love the orchestral accompaniment involved in that song. And Adele, as a vocalist, is able to not overpower the vocals in there to where they blend together to where, like I've mentioned, you can just close your eyes and listen, almost feeling yourself being carried away into it. And her slow inflections to whenever she gets to certain lyrics, like when she says, I've so overdue, I owe them, swept away, I'm stolen. When she pauses from in the middle of stolen to bring that crescendo, that is very powerful. And then it brings into the drum beat to where she says, let the sky fall, let it crumble.
That's another thing. This song is about basically the apocalypse, and which would you rather sing along to? A song about the birth of a song about just life and its many joys and possibilities, or a song about The world is falling apart as we know it. The sky is literally falling down. I would rather sing to the positive song with the African choir. I don't know
This
about
song
you, but
is
that's where I would go.
relatable. It doesn't feel like an apocalypse. It literally feels like what you said. The sky's falling apart. Your world's coming apart. It's pretty much apart. It's pretty much about wherever you are in your life, a moment that just brings you down and just tears you apart. If you see everything around you falling apart, it's literally about your character. Where do you stand in this moment where everything is falling around you? And something like Skyfall, especially in the movie of Bond, as I have mentioned, when James Bond fails at a mission, he's in isolation. He comes back. He can't even do a firing range. He can't shoot correctly. He can't even pass a psychological exam. He can't even beat an opponent in a mental game. It's not until he goes back home to where everything began for him, to where he overcomes it, he comes out as a new man. Literally, everything falling apart around him. And that song matches to the movie of Skyfall.
And my song accompanies a lion being born as it talks about just how life works and the cycle of it. The sun rising, the sun setting, every single possibility you can do as a living organism on this planet we call Earth. And it perfectly wraps around back to the end of the movie when his own daughter is born as well, in fully encompassing that it is the circle of life. And I'd rather sing a song about life, again, sing along to a song about life, than try and mumble my way through a song I've maybe heard once. That's about
most people I've met have mumbled along to Circle of Life because most of the orchestra accompaniment overpowers the vocals itself, which is why with Skyfall, you don't have to mumble. You can clearly hear every word Adele is saying to it, which is why I like that song. This is not, and I don't want, and as much as you like a song where you want to have a billion of people sing along to it, I also don't mind.
But that's what makes a song great, is the amount of people who will actually sing along to it and appreciate it and know of the song's existence. I don't know.
And you see an opera singer sing, do you want everybody in the audience to sing along with it too? Whenever I go to a classical music or you go to a Broadway play, do you want everyone in the audience singing along to it too? Because you've mentioned how the Circle of Life is done in a Broadway play.
Nobody would try to sing along to opera because they know they'd get pwned instantly by the person on the stage.
But
it's not worth trying that.
Play of The Lion King, do you know anybody? Have you seen anybody in the audience sing along to that song too? No.
Yes, I've hung around plenty of people who will sing along. You can't hear them, but they sing along to it.
You just see time?
Time.
Okay.
All right. So Ryan started off with this, and we're going to start off with Nico for closing. Nico, when I disappear and you start talking, you have 1 minute.
Again, I've been in a room 3 times in the past 3 years where tens of thousands of people have been singing along to Circle of Life. It is a powerful song with multiple covers. It was nominated for Best Original Song at the Oscars in 1995. It has that nostalgia factor. It has that replay factor. It has that sing-along factor. It's iconic. People know that song whether they've seen the movie The Lion King or not. No one knows Skyfall if they haven't watched Skyfall or the Oscars. Circle of Life is 16 years old and still talked about and sung proudly to this day. It's been 7 years since Skyfall came out, on the other hand, and when it plays, people go, "Oh, yeah, that song." You know what they don't say? Yeah, Skyfall. Nobody says that because James Bond doesn't really have the fanfare that Disney has. Disney songs relate to everyone. Everyone can sing along. James Bond, there's just a select group of people who really like that franchise and like the songs that come with James Bond.
And time. All right, bringing Ryan back in for his close. Ryan, when I disappear, 1 minute on the clock.
It's funny how Nico said if people heard that song, they would have to think of the Oscars, which is kind of hilarious because Skyfall was not only nominated for Best Original Song, it actually won Best Original Song. And yes, he does talk about how Disney has a track there and Skyfall only has 7 years apart. But Skyfall is not just about Bond. It's about I'm talking about the song itself, and that is the singer Adele. And there are people out there who do know Adele. And like I've mentioned before, Nico and I completely have different ideas of songs, and I want to say it when it comes to Skyfall itself and the song being a bit kind of almost feeling like a downer song. Guess what? There is a lot of musicians out there who their best songs feel very depressive, or about breakups, or about suicide, or about everything around them falling apart. The only difference is how that song is played and how that song is performed. Skyfall works because it works with the idea of the Bond movie Skyfall, where where you as yourself have to relate to Bond, to where everything falls around him and how you pick yourself back.
Time. All right. Bringing the judges back in.
Their faces right now.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's either this is going to end or we got to go to the next question.
So, all right, let's go to the judges. Cody, you're going to kick us off. Where do you see this bout?
I have judged probably over 30 debates. I am 19-0 in debates, and this is by far one of the worst argued questions I have ever heard in my fucking life.
In wrestling terms, I see that as a compliment.
The definition that the main hint that I got why one song is better because 10,000 people gather together and sing a fucking song is the most ridiculous. No one. The question read, best opening song in a fandom film. You guys barely even touched on the opening scene of the song. You guys fought who sings it in your car. It's not the argument. This is a movie type fight. The only one that ever hit me with notes or anything was Ryan, and I can't believe I'm voting against Lion King. But damn, Ryan at least gave me something. Arguably one of the worst debates I have ever seen. Ever. You guys should be awarded no points for this, and may God have mercy on your soul, but I have to give a point to Ryan.
I was wondering if that was going to pop up.
You've officially made Cody turn off his cam. And this man loves the Lion King.
I like it too.
No, I actually agree with him 110%. I didn't hear much about the opening scenes. It's the best opening song in a fandom film, regardless of singing along or not. Like, I heard a little bit more, about why it was associated to the film. I actually I heard more from Ryan about the film and why it's the best opening song, not the best sing along.
Hold on, I think Cody wants to interject.
I'm back. Also, Ryan literally, he's still getting the point, but I'm telling you, he even had an open punch that Nico literally opened up. He said, the Oscars. Circle Life didn't even win. He was able to deliver the rib punch to him, and he just went on his own little tangent about something else. Ah! Sorry, I'm done now.
All right. So Ryan is getting the point. But where would you have seen this fight turn out?
Imagine if I judged this question like the debaters argued it. Well, my cousin Joey says that Nico had a better debate, but my uncle in a room full of people really wanted Ryan to win, so it's really close. Never do that again. Never just bring up random people from your life that know a song. Please, that is the worst way to debate. Never do that again. My cousin Joey says that Ryan at least made some better points than Nico. So I'm going to give it to Ryan. But
my back was literally against the wall. I'm just swinging here.
All right. Well, we're gonna jump in.
I just want to clarify before we move on to the last question here that
you don't need to.
Skyfall beat Ted. The circle of life lost to itself.
This is not debate time.
We're moving to the next question. And the next All right. That's enough. All right, we're moving to the next question, which is Star Wars. Nico, you're starting it off. What would you change in the sequel trilogy to make it better? When we disappear and you start talking, you have a minute on the clock.
I thought the quarantine was supposed to help with this.
Too bad.
So one of the key themes of The Last Jedi was that the actions and choices you make are what define you, not the past. When Kylo Ren struck down Snoke and then tried to murder his uncle Luke, that should have been his moment in which he established himself as the big bad of the new Star Wars trilogy. The reveal of Snoke being a Palpatine clone and then Palpatine coming back from the dead because somehow to be the puppet master again negated that theme. So what I would change in the Star Wars trilogy is I would make Snoke his own character so that it removes him from being a Palpatine clone. I would remove Palpatine from the equation entirely and not let him return. And once Snoke dies in The Last Jedi, Kylo Ren officially cements himself as the big bad of the trilogy. He does not get redeemed. He doesn't get to kiss anybody. He just gets to be bad and set forth his own legacy and do nefarious things. And like no Sith Wayfinders, no Final Order, no planet-killing cannons, no Exegol, no Rey being Palpatine's granddaughter. Get rid of it all. And you know what? Keep the mask out of there.
Time. All right, Ryan, you're coming back on the screen. You got a minute when I disappear and you start talking.
I think one thing we all agree about Star Wars is what we love about Star Wars is the characters it presents us, but not just that, the choices all of our characters make throughout either the movies, the films, the TV shows is what cements them as who they are. Finn as a character was set up through The Force Awakens as someone who chose to break away from where he was grown up from, which was being a stormtrooper from the First Order. It looked like it was going to set up to something to where Finn was going to have to finally decide whether he was going to stand on his own and fight or run away. And that continued from The Force Awakens to The Last Jedi. And then it was completely washed away in the Rise of Skywalker, when it's not just the fact that he's fighting for the Resistance, he's also a Force sensitive. He really doesn't have that much of a key part in this war except being made a general. My changes would be making him an integral part of the war, having his past with the First Order work. He infiltrates First Order bases, being able to sabotage them. He's able to turn soldiers to make them realize what they're doing is wrong.
Time.
I talk too much.
Bringing Nico on the screen. When I disappear, guys, you have 5 minutes on the clock whenever one of you start talking.
Okay, so in the limited time you were talking about what you would actually change, you mentioned that you would have Finn be a saboteur, an infiltrator for the Resistance, get into the First Order. But here's the thing. Finn already kind of was a saboteur and infiltrator in the other movies of the new trilogy. Like he used his knowledge of the First Order technology to launch the boarding assault on the command ship in The Rise of Skywalker and sabotage the ship's bridge, the antenna, the weapon system, and via domino effect, the Final Order fleet.
I would kind of extend that to where in The Rise of Skywalker, or hell, even building off more in The Last Jedi, Finn learning his mistake in The Last Jedi that he can't go in half-cocked. This time in The Rise of Skywalker,
But how is that a change? How is that a change, though? Because you're basically saying, I would do more of what already happened. Like, he already used his saboteuring and infiltrating skills to get into Starkiller Base in The Force Awakens. He already used that skill to get on Snoke's ship in The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi.
In The Force Awakens, he was doing that in the service of himself to save Rey. In The Last Jedi, sure, he was doing
it still helped the Resistance.
Technically, no, because that reveal of him just being in sanitation was made to be as a joke. Instead, I would take that whole point of him being in sanitation as the fact that he's underlooked, he's underutilized, and at the same time, he's not being taken seriously, which is why a character like
But if he wasn't taken seriously in The Force Awakens, or in The Last Jedi for that matter, why would you try now in The Last Jedi to make him be taken seriously?
It's called an arc. It's called development. It's to where Finn can just not only pass his own doubts, but also conquer his own fears, his own knowledge of the First Order. Like he keeps saying in The Force Awakens, he's trying to run away. You don't know what I know. You don't know what the First Order is capable of. We all need to run. This is a man who has seen some terrible stuff, and in most logical situations, you would run away, but the Resistance wants to fight, and him joining the Resistance, finally committing in The Last Jedi, is him saying, "No, I'm not going to run away." If it's mirror a bit to Han in A New Hope, to where Han is going to run away, but he changes his mind to at least to provide a distraction to help Luke destroy the Death Star. And it's also a little bit like Han as well in Return of the Jedi when he commits to the rebels, being made a general, actually making plans to attack the base on the moon of Endor.
But it still feels like you're talking about stuff that happened in the movies already. What are you changing? And like, by the way, the force sensitive stuff, that's not really confirmed in the movie. That's just speculation based on a couple interviews and fan theories, but they never actually say for certain, hey, I'm force sensitive. And it's like barely touched on in the movie, so it's not really changing anything. What are you changing?
There are scenes in that movie of Finn being force sensitive to when Rey dies. You see Finn on the Millennium Falcon reach out to his heart and say Rey. There are moments to where, let's say something bad.
It's still kind of inconsequential to the rest of the plot.
It is. That's why I want to get rid of that. I want to get rid of him being. I want Finn to be a capable character because of the skills and knowledge he has. You trying to bring Snoke back, having Kylo Ren being a bad guy.
I'm not saying bring. I'm saying get rid of Palpatine entirely. When Snoke is dead, he's dead. There are no other clones of him, and Kylo Ren can officially cement himself in the in the Rise of Skywalker as the big bad. Don't have any more cannons that destroy planets. Have him with a bunch of stormtroopers going down from planet to planet and just invading like Nazis, literally throwing people across the planet to their deaths, and showing how powerful he is with the Force. Making people fear him as the leader of the First Order. Have him battle his mom in a lightsaber fight in her that is her final demise, not just poofing away. And then when Rey encounters him in the final battle, the true final battle of the Rise of Skywalker, it means something. It doesn't just end with her stabbing him and then healing his wounds. No, she uses the power of the Force to wipe him out of existence using the light healing power, because there's so much darkness within him from having killed his mom. There's no light left. So when she uses all of her light, he just evaporates like Thanos snapped him out of thin air.
That really feels almost a little bit, that evaporation felt like you're copying the Deathly Hallows Part 2 with Voldemort evaporating. But other than that, look, with Kylo Ren being the bad guy would have been a logical step. But it was clear people wanted, they loved the redemption angle. People wanted that. They wanted to see Rey and Kylo together.
I
was going to say majority versus minority.
Alrighty. And we're going to go ahead and kick off with Ryan closing us out. Ryan, you got a minute when I disappear.
What people love about Star Wars is the characters, and what makes the characters ingrained onto us are the choices they make. Kylo's choices from The Last Jedi would have definitely cemented him as the bad guy, but it was pretty clear throughout The Rise of Skywalker, it was telegraphed that his redemption was coming. It was telegraphed that people wanted to see him and Rey fight the big bad guy, which is why Palpatine was brought in there. With Finn, on the other hand, he was pushed aside. He was made as a minor character. In The Last Jedi, it was clear Finn was being set up for something better. He was set up to finally be as a focal point that your choices are going to define who you are for the rest of your life. Him choosing to fight with the Resistance not only stands to himself by having the courage to finally go back his fear, but at the same time, he gets allies. He gets allies in Rose, who was definitely misused. With Finn being an integral part of the war, we get to see more of Rose. We get to see more interactions with him and Poe going on missions, saboteuring First Orders, and also gaining sway and allies along the way, instead of them being pushed off to the side in some crazy adventures.
Time. All right, we're going to bring Nico in. Nico, your 1 minute close when I disappear and you start talking.
So I want to emphasize that Ryan wants Finn to be a saboteur, to be an infiltrator. He already was those things in the movies that we saw. So what exactly is he changing? Same goes for the force sensitive stuff. He's force sensitive for about 5 seconds. Other than that, not much. So just saying he's not force sensitive, it's like, okay, you didn't really change much. He's not changing anything. The question is, what would you change in the Star Wars sequel to make it a Star Wars sequel trilogy to make it better? And I'm taking away the thing that pretty much took the trilogy down. I'm getting rid of Palpatine's presence. I'm making Snoke his own character so that when he dies in The Last Jedi, it sets up Kylo Ren to officially cement his place as the big bad. He's accepted his position as the darkest person in the galaxy, and he's using it. He's exercising that position as the darkest person in the galaxy, terrorizing the citizens of the galaxy to the point that his own mom has to pick up a lightsaber against him, and she falls, and then he's consumed with darkness to the point that Rey is the only one left to stop him. Interesting. It makes it interesting. Makes it better.
Nico, you first.
Oh, wait, I did? Am I still here?
Yeah.
You did
I'll
not
give you the extra 2 seconds.
He only froze. I heard him.
Oh, okay, you heard him? All right, time. I didn't hear the last sentence, but we'll bring everybody else in and see what they think. Yeah, all right, there we go. We're moving around. We got this. I'll take the first one at it. I think Nico really put in work on this one. I think he destroyed Ryan's argument. What did he actually change in his front about it? And I think Nico handled himself well with what he would change, and I didn't hear much from Ryan about why it wouldn't work. So yeah, Nico's got my point for this round, but I am not the only person here. We are going to go over to Caleb Boatman. Boatman, how do you see this fight go?
This is tough because I'm not super knowledgeable about the Star Wars universe, so I learned a lot today. But I'm going to also give the point to Nico. I think, kind of to echo what you said, I think Nico just hit more on why Ryan's argument didn't really make sense because it wasn't confirmed that Finn was a Force sensitive.
All right, and Cody, your point doesn't count, but where did you see this fight?
To quote Blade, there's always some motherfucker trying to ice skate uphill, and that was Ryan the entire time. Could not find footing at all. No shot at him. I'm just saying. Nico literally said, well, what are you changing? And Ryan's response was, so Nico gets a point.
And your winner, 3-1, Nico Suave Regoli. We will talk to our winner first, or how's it go? Winner first, right? All right, we'll talk to our winner first. Kick everybody else off the screen. Let's talk to the winner. Nico, you said you were going to come in and win. How's it feel to get that win tonight?
I can't stop laughing from what Cody said in that final discussion there. It feels good. I'm 4-0 for the month of March 2020, and that feels good. That feels good. 4-0 across 4 different leagues, 4 different forms of competition. And I've had a chip on my shoulder for this month, and it goes back to something as pathetic as a Facebook poll. For the match that took place a couple weeks ago between me and Lucas Schilbach in Fandom Fight, 2/3 of the poll had me losing to Lucas, and Malcolm had a very stupid joke in the comments section of the schedule for this month, and it just ate away at me. Because do you people really think that lowly of me as a competitor that I'm just going to get steamrolled left and right? No, I'm not. I'm going to fight back, and I always do, and I always will fight back, and it shows here. I'm 4-0 this month, and so I feel like I'm airing some dirty laundry here. I've just got a lot of pent up frustration in me because I am a good player. Cody said it at the beginning. I have the potential to be a good debater if I apply myself. Sometimes I have some misses. Like that Lion King question should have been hook, line, and sinker, and I somehow let it slip through the cracks. But for the love of God, I can still fight. I can still work my way around any match, whether it be trivia or debate, if you give me a fighting chance. Yeah.
Who is somebody that you want to face coming off of this victory?
In Nerdgasm, I'm not entirely sure. I'll play whoever you put up against me. But I will say that, like, again, the doubt that I keep facing is really motivating me right now. And I'm sick of feeling like I'm on an island all by myself. To the managers who have factions, please, for the love of God, one of you draft me, because I can't be someone who can offer you things.
All right. Well, Nico has put himself out there as wanting to be picked up on a team. Let's go ahead and head over to Ryan. Nico, lots of luck, man. Ryan, I know this is not where you wanted this fight to end tonight, but you played your heart out. How are you feeling, good sir?
As long as I wasn't knocked out, I feel fantastic. And look, my track with debate is not as solid as Nico's, and this is no excuse to myself. It clearly showed from every question. I definitely do have a lot more to improve on. To be honest, I was just looking to just talk, talk about geek stuff, talk about nerd stuff, and also maybe, prove my argument ultimately in the end. And yeah, I can kind of see that a lot of flaws in my argument. I'm still laughing my ass off the fact that Nico and I broke Cody. Or we just frustrated him to the point to where if he ever does come back, I might be his first target just because how dare I make him choose Skyfall over Lion King.
Well, that's an argument that might happen later down the line. Ryan, it's been a pleasure. Is there I know that you didn't win this, but is there anybody that you might want to face later down the line? Maybe we can get it in the works for you.
Well, honestly, actually, no. I mean, the whole subject of nerdgasm, I want to get involved in. I don't, other than doing like maybe only typing out my opinions, I never get the opportunity to always vocally talk about this stuff. So whoever you have that wants to fight, if they're trying to look at me as an easy victory or they just want to fight, just bring them up to me. Just have them knock on my door. I will gladly take that opportunity. I chose swords and soundtracks because I thought that was something nobody ever talks about. So next time I might pick something else nobody wants to talk about. And maybe I might break Cody again. I made an impression. I might make another impression in the future.
Well, you're talking about knocking on doors and breaking Cody. But we will see you next time, good sir. And let's go ahead and bring the judges back in and see how they viewed the match tonight. All right, guys. You were a topic of discussion tonight, Cody, that they broke you. How does that feel?
Well, Ryan, just don't come talking that you want me to get back in the ring, because believe me, after tonight, I think I can make it 20-0. But it was a fine match. Both people need to work on like prep, like they have prep, but I don't think they ever think of counters. Like counter arguments that are going to be brought up against them. And if they want to be good in this league and they want to like take it far, they're going to have to come up with counterpoints that somebody's going to throw against you, because when a counter punch is thrown, they look like they literally stumble on screen, and it's kind of rough. And the Nico like driving the force against Ryan the entire time, that works against Ryan, but like a Boatman, a Coho, a Tim, it's not going to work. Like Tim will literally, those people will shut you down fast. So you got to learn to like get in and get out and not try to overrun somebody, because you're going to just piss them off and they're going to literally brutalize you. But it's great. I can't wait to see Nico move over. He's the first time I ever saw him debate to now, there's a totally different time period. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid of picking Nico up in my faction anytime soon. Sorry, buddy. My house is full. I don't have room, and I won't be picking up that child anytime soon. But I can't wait to see him pick up. I can't wait to see him back in the ring, because against somebody like a Boatman or somebody higher up, I can't wait to see that matchup, because that will really test him moving forward.
Absolutely. And Boat, you were a little distraught during the soundtrack scores and soundtrack section as well. But how are your views over the overall match?
Overall match was fine. That one question though, I think Nico kind of just said one thing and then Ryan just kind of went along with it, but then didn't. And it's gonna give me a headache if I talk about it more. The other questions were fine. They were good. I think the Marvel question was like a good one. Like that was a good back and forth. Like the first question. But yeah, I would love to play Nico. That would be a good time. If I could play Nico, I would love that.
That might be something to take up with Tim, as I am just a temporary host. But for Boatman, for Cody, for Nico, for Ryan, and for myself, Doug, you guys have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you next time when we're debating this out.